We've had a bit of a break. Each of us have had our respective holidays and coming back refreshed this week. You've spent some time down the coast in Australia, or I spent some time down by the lake. So I think we've both got out in nature a little bit and ready to get back into it.
Indeed, mate. I'm keen. I'm very keen to rip into it, and it's a good one to rip into this week, I think.
Yeah, so this week we're going to be talking about the upcoming Winter 21 release. Makes you realise how fast the year is flying by, that we're talking about the 21 release.
I must admit, when I was writing some notes up on this, I kept writing Winter 20. It's not 20, it's 21.
Yeah.
Scary.
So, yeah, and you've made a comment to me just before that this is looking like a pretty bulky release.
This is a huge release. There's basically every single cloud has got something in it, and there's a lot of good stuff in the release. A lot of great functionality coming in this time. And in all honesty, I've got about halfway through the release notes and ran out of time to sort of collect my thoughts about what we should or we can talk about. So there's definitely more than one chat in this for sure.
Yeah. So we've pretty much decided this will be a part 1 of 2. We'll get through some of the release notes this week, and then we'll carry on the conversation next week. So where do you want to start, Peter? I know you've made some notes, and first one I can see looks to be Salesforce Anywhere.
Yeah. So I saw Benioff tweet about this a couple of weeks ago, actually. Salesforce Anywhere. I really want to get my hands on it. I can only go by what the notes are saying at the moment. But for those of us that remember what Chatter Messenger, that's what it was called, wasn't it, back in the day, which people liked and all that type of stuff. Well, that's obviously no longer with us, but Salesforce Anywhere is the next version of that, I think. Yep. It's chat within the app itself, mobile app, contextual around records, and you can share those records as well. So it was all those things that we were sort of missing before. It was just that chat icon on the right hand side of the page. But it's also the next bit on this, which is, I think, more exciting. It's what you can do off the back of this. So there's also there's chats and alerts that you can get into the app off processes and flows. So it's in beta. We'll call that out. But the ability to actually trigger something like that through a flow and actually push the message to someone saying, well, this has happened on this op or whatever, is going to be a really cool thing in the app itself, I think.
Yeah, I picked up on that as well. So it creates some new, basically invocable methods that you can just put into any flow to be able to get a message through. And there's been ways to do that with the Salesforce app, but it's all been a bit clunky in the past. Yeah. And it feels like this will be a much kind of cleaner way to then pull someone into a conversation as well. So it's, again, we've signed up for the beta. We're waiting to get access to it, but it's sort of made me think of, because you and I know we end up in our organization having a lot of conversations in Slack around different opportunities and that kind of thing, and we're playing around with this Slack integration to Salesforce, and it's got some nice little features. But yeah, this would be interesting if you can pull a sales rep might be in the field, they get a notification on their phone, and they're sort of pulled into a conversation straight away with context and all the rest of it.
I think and that's the real key thing, isn't it? It's the real-time collaboration on things, which is what, yes, we've had sort of that element of, or have had collaboration for a while, but it's not really been real-time. You've got to go off and log into Salesforce and that. This being pushed out and being able to, using process builder and flows and things like that, huge thing. Some of the other use cases could be SLAs as well. If you're out in the field and you've got a particular thing that you're monitoring, the SLA is breached, being advised of that in real time is a very powerful thing.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see at one point and I think we've seen this before with the different mobile apps that Salesforce has had over the years, separate apps, at what point does it fold back into the the core app, if you will, or bring all that kind of functionality to one place, so you sort of know where you're going to get some of the stuff. But obviously at the moment, this is just something that they want to experiment with a little bit. I think we heard from Charlie in one of our earlier episodes that he'd just got off a call with Benioff where he was promoting Salesforce Anywhere. So it's obviously something that they're pushing and a lot internally, and be interesting to see how it goes. And look, we've all been around long enough to know there's been certain products or features in this kind of collaboration space that have been pushed heavily in the past that kind of haven't really taken off the way they were envisaged. I remember an entire Dreamforce around chatter and the like, that you would have thought it's going to change the world, and it hasn't quite lived up to that. The best implementation of chatter that I've heard of is actually Salesforce themselves, and that it works very well in that context, and the ability to tag and pull in a product manager who's on the other side of the world and that kind of thing. For a lot of smaller organizations, maybe it's a little bit harder to adopt, but we should keep moving through. But this one definitely looks promising, and see what comes of it next for sure.
Also tagged into that also is the ability to get customized alerts and changes, which is in beta as well. So I think it's been wrapped up in that same product suite, for want of a better word. But that's going to allow us to get specific alerts on list views or records that we want to see.
Yep, and we've got an example of that up on screen at the moment, so you can sort of subscribe to these alerts basically, which is that's kind of a cool way of doing it, of allowing you to create them and then let people choose what they want to kind of subscribe to as well, which is pretty cool.
Very good.
Right.
Einstein personalized searches.
Yes. Tell me
Another exciting stuff
more
about
about
Einstein,
that.
which is further down, which we'll talk about in a while. But I have to read my notes now to see what exactly it covers. There is just so much in this release. Okay, that's what this is. So this is about getting alerts on things that you're interested in rather than on everything, or surfacing up in a way that you're going to get alerts on or returns in the search on records that you follow or things that are of more interest to you based on the location or whatever around that. So Einstein's getting more smart around what it's delivering back to you in that search functionality. So
yeah, and that I'm just bringing up the kind of release notes for that now. So this is now GA. Just bring that up on screen now. So it's really around tailored results per the user. What's most relevant for you? And I assume that it's learning from the history of, well, this user, they're searching 5 times a day. They always choose leads because that's their role, is they deal with leads. So let's tailor the results to be more focused with, highlighting the types of records, types of objects that they're interested in, based on their search history and that kind of thing, I imagine.
One of the things I'd be interested to see is, how smart Einstein is around those things, and is there a way that you can make it learn the things that you're not interested in at the same time? Give me all leads for Australia, but don't show me Queensland type of thing. Might be an example. It's one of these things. Really want to get into the sandbox and start playing with that, which we forgot to say when this is coming up, by the way, which is this weekend.
Right.
So it goes into sandboxes then. So then we can start playing around with and see exactly what it's like.
Yeah, just drilling in further. So there's some natural language being built in as well. So I guess changing the way that people have tended to maybe go for a keyword search to actually asking a question, and Einstein being able to come back with results that kind of match that would be interesting as well.
It's the way that we do searches now, but isn't it? It's
Yeah.
I want to see all opportunities over $500,000. Bang.
Yeah. It's a combination of both searching, filtering, reporting. At the end of the day, whatever you're doing, you're trying to get an answer. And what's the fastest way to get me to the answer that I'm looking for? Being able to, that's a great example that you just gave. Show me all the opportunities worth more than this amount would be a perfect use case, that there might be 10 records and you just want to see those 10 records in a list view pretty much. You don't want to have to go and create that filter that you want. You can kind of let it all handle it by itself, which would be quite cool.
I'm looking for the day when we can actually do reporting that way. And then we start going into that whole, Minority Report, Tom Cruise thing.
Yeah.
Give me that. No, I digress.
All right. So I'm bringing up Salesforce Surveys, and this is getting another little upgrade, which is looking quite cool.
Yeah, look, there's a bit in there. I think there's one thing in particular to look out for, which is that survey emails are now going to be included in your org email limit. So got to be very mindful of that, because we all know how easy that is to burn through those things, and you don't want, if you're sending out surveys, you don't want that stuff to get stuck. So
yeah, and we used Salesforce Surveys for the first time in anger a few months ago, and for the most basic use cases, it's pretty on the money, and it's kind of this underutilized feature that you can use for free up to a limit in your org, that people still go out and buy SurveyMonkey or something else, not realizing the power of what they've got under the hood.
Yeah,
and they probably send those surveys to customers that they have to export the data out of Salesforce and send it to another app anyway, when you can just do it all from here, which is pretty powerful in itself. Nice simple product, does a good job, really.
And it's good to see you to get some love from the product team. So
and it seems to be, I read in one of them, gaining the benefits of the rest of the platform. So there's an enhanced email composer coming, which then flows through to this, and how you can create the emails that go out to surveys and all that kind of stuff. So ultimately, just the whole experience becomes a bit more polished.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that plays nicely into the next one that I've listed, which is Customer
next?
360 guides.
Right.
And when I first looked at this, I thought, this is a how-to guide. It's actually not. It's how you build that out. It's how you build out the guided experience for your customers. So this is more around Commerce Cloud and it's around Commerce Cloud, really. So abandoned carts and all that type of stuff. So giving that guided approach to a customer, so that you can make sure you know exactly where everything is, what they're doing when they're dropping out, if they drop out, how they come back in. The integration between Commerce Cloud and Marketing Cloud is an example that's in there as well. So yeah, I like the way they're putting this stuff together, that it's, if we're looking from an administrator's perspective, it's actually quite easy to maintain this stuff and build it out.
Well, it's the kind of thing that's very easy to get lost in, right? You could just get completely overwhelmed with, I've got all these systems, and they've all got a different customer record. The customer's doing something over here in Commerce Cloud, but then I need to use behavior over here to trigger an email over here in Marketing Cloud.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be that long ago that would be a huge integration exercise that would cost a fortune to kind of bring and tie that all together. And I guess that was what my takeaway from the original announcement of Customer 360, which was at the last Dreamforce I was at. So it was that 2018. that if people are investing in the Salesforce stack, they kind of have an expectation from Salesforce that all of their tools are going to kind of play nicely together. And that becomes harder and harder over time as you bring in these acquisition products that bolt on, that are working off completely different tech stacks. Some of them are being rebuilt on the core platform, but others will continue to remain separate, and you need to think about how you're going to seamlessly get your customer records in sync across the stack, and that's where Customer 360 plays a part. I actually did a trailhead yesterday on Customer 360, and one of the use cases I hadn't really considered that they talk about in the trailhead quite a lot is just the number of customers, Salesforce customers that is, these days, that have multiple orgs with overlapping data. So you as a customer record, you might live in more than one place. And so just getting your core Salesforce orgs talking to one customer, one version of the truth, is a big challenge. And so then there's the technical bit, but I guess where these guides are coming in is what's the practical aspect of this once you've kind of got things tied together in the right way, and how can you actually then benefit from that and create these seamless experiences.
And that's what it's about. It's about creating a seamless experience for a customer. That's what makes them stick at the end of the day. So
yep, for sure.
It makes a hell of a lot of sense. So
yep. Right. Optimizer.
Yeah, Optimizer app. So I do wonder who's used the Optimizer app. I wonder who knows what the Optimizer app is. So we've talked about this type of stuff before. And it's making sure that you've got a clean org and all those type of things. So they've enhanced the app, and you can now get a high-level view on how your limits are going and all that type of stuff. But they've also given there's another 7 new metrics that have been added, which is profile assignments.
Yep, we've got them up on screen now.
There you go. Well, I'm not going to read it then. Let's see. So that's a great step forward. Having an app that you're across that you can go to. And what you would previously have to go and run it yourself, you can now schedule it.
I think that's a big one.
Yeah, that's a big step forward. So, keeping a clean org. Clean org is a happy org.
Absolutely. And I think scheduling's big for me. It's a little bit of set and forget, and then by exception, notify me that something needs my attention. Just staying across so many aspects of sharing rules for external users. Classic one where someone could accidentally inadvertently share a whole bunch of data with the wrong people. That having another set of eyes, albeit an automated process, to call out and kind of identify when you may have got something wrong, and can keep on top of it before the worst happens. Yeah,
it's a very key thing these days, isn't it? Making sure your data is clean, but also secure at the same time. So monitoring that in a proactive way is the best thing. So
that one, and I can see, as you said, we talked about this last release around, I think, which was when the Optimizer app debuted, I think. So hopefully this is just something that will just keep evolving, and they'll keep building more things into the tool. And it's really helpful. There's some external tools out there that help with this kind of stuff, but ultimately, if they can keep investing, and I assume hopefully there's a team around this Optimizer app that'll just keep investing, keep moving forward. I think it's a really valuable one to keep going with.
It's a really core part of the platform, isn't it? It's part of the reason why you go to Salesforce as a platform, because you've got these tool sets that were given as part of what they do. So don't have to get something separate.
Yep. Yeah, it's just, as we keep kind of repeated theme, and I was watching a video earlier this morning from one of our former guests, Ian from elements.cloud, and he was promoting a new integration or partnership they've got with Capado around DevOps. But again, it was this message that this is now a strategic platform for your business, and you need to treat it as such. It's not a toy, and I think and the investment in these things, but also from customers, is to take things seriously and take the time to run the optimized app, use it, take the results seriously.
Make sure you actually address anything else.
Yeah, exactly. It's all part of the maturing of the platform.
Yeah.
Very good. So onwards to now we're getting into some of the clouds. Service Cloud.
Yes. So first up on Service Cloud, Einstein bots. So I've sort of had a go at setting up an Einstein bot myself. I do wonder how many people have actually set them up. But the good thing is there's now there's a guided setup for the bot to do that. The one thing to remember for this is you've got to have a Service Cloud license and chat licenses as well, or digital engagement licenses on it. And then you get 25 Einstein bot conversations per month for each one of those.
Right.
So you can create a bot from a template that includes the popular Salesforce actions, such as create a case and create a lead and case comment and look up an order. So, the stuff you don't need to be doing yourself. Get the bot to do it. That's what it should be about. So yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and again, the kind of thing just keep getting better with all of the learning. I imagine these, the underlying Einstein engine. I think when we first looked at Einstein bots 18 months ago, still a little bit hit and miss. You hope these things are getting better. I still question that every day when Alexa doesn't understand me, but I put that down to accents sometimes, but interpreting text should be easier than voice. Interestingly, bit of a tangent, but it was announced recently that I think it was called Einstein Voice was being shut down.
I didn't know it wasn't Einstein Voice.
That was another Dreamforce thing from 2 years ago, where you could basically come out of a meeting and record all your notes, and it would go and update the opportunity value and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was kind of, and there was pre-built extensions for Alexa you could take and customize. But it seems it's been put on ice in that form, but perhaps behind the scenes, the team, it's been rolled into the core Salesforce app in some way. Because again, it was similar to what we talked about with Salesforce Anywhere. It was kind of its own thing out on the side, private beta. Looked great in marketing videos, but where was it?
Well, it's actually really usable.
Yeah. So, yeah. The amount that they're investing in all this AI stuff, there's always a learning curve, but there's got to be massive paybacks coming.
Well, it's interesting because there is a thing called voice, and it's actually the next thing on the list to talk about.
Right.
But it's not Einstein Voice; it's just called Voice,
right?
Not The Voice, being the TV show. But this is Amazon Connect, so this is a native telephony connector straight into Salesforce. And it does some of that type of stuff. So using that, and we saw this from World Tour at a HID earlier in the year, where they did actually do a demo, and you saw it capturing what was being said, and then being able to take those words and then kick off a flow from there, or a process, or update records from there. Is, I think that may be why they've turned off Einstein Voice and just gone with voice. I really do wish they'd stop changing names on things, but
yeah, it is hard to keep up.
So again, from the demo that we saw at World Tour, that looked pretty cool. So and given that it's Amazon Connect, so it's it's good technology. It's out there. It's already being used. It's a strong thing. It's native. I think it's the first time. That is the first native telephony solution, is it?
Yes,
That I
yeah,
can
I
think of
didn't
anyway.
realize. Yeah, I had seen right after Amazon launched that Connect, there was the standard kind of CTI adapter kind of came out, but yeah, that native, but that's obviously doing much more. It's getting into transcribing the conversation and that kind of thing. Obviously, part of a bigger partnership kind of play or some kind of agreement that Amazon and Salesforce have got.
We can only. I don't know. I can't think of the word I was going to use. Don't worry about that.
But the cool thing there is, you could start a business tomorrow and stand up a call center the next day.
That's right.
And, not that long ago, that would be unheard of. And it'd be, there's going to be other players affected, the new voice media and other telephony, cloud telephony products out there. We might be a little bit worried about this level of integration natively.
And I think that's, when you talk about a CTI connector before, it was, having a soft phone, being able to dial out, and then that was pretty much it. And it records the call, and this is that, but so much more. And when we start to leverage this stuff with Einstein, machine learning, and whatever, that's extremely powerful. So,
yep. So from one channel to another, messaging.
Yep. So we can now build automated templates on leads and ops to notify customers when conditions are met. So the other good thing is that it will use this omni-channel skill-based routing rules to message as well. So that's a new step, I think, in the messaging space for Salesforce. So.
Yeah, and I'll admit to not knowing as much as I should on this front. I was playing around with building a community the other day, and there was a messages component to drag onto the canvas, and I didn't really know what they would do, but sort of, I guess this all falls part of an omni-channel thing, just another channel to interact with customers that they might be logging into communities and have effectively an inbox of messages. Is that the idea, I wonder?
I think so. It's sort of a bit light on from what I can tell from the release notes so far. So we need an org to play around with.
We do. And then another, I guess, and this is where it gets interesting between the difference between a message and a chat, which is the next one is, and I guess it's the asynchronous versus synchronous nature of a message I send off, I expect a response within a certain time frame. A chat, I'm expecting something a little bit more real time.
Yeah, and the good thing with the improvement to chat in this release is that it's leveraging the skills-based routing again. So they've given that, turned up the dial on that. So that will send things to your team that are the best people to answer that question. Cuts out all the noise. It cuts out I'm going to have to transfer you to this person, or all those type of things that we all get frustrated with along the way. If you can go straight through, you've got to set your skills-based routing up correctly. So there's some work around that, but that's a good improvement from what was there. I think there's probably some more. I would like to see some more enhancements around that skill-based routing stuff in the future, but a good tool for a customer. Good experiences. That's the word I was looking for a customer ultimately at the back of that.
Yep.
So.
Cool. Maybe let's do two more, then we'll wrap it up for this week and finish off this mega release next week.
Yeah.
So we got bot responses for screen readers.
Yeah, so this one jumped off the page. This is good. I like the fact that Salesforce is investing in accessibility, and they recognise that as a need that's out there. So this is using Einstein bots to extend screen readers, to be able to deliver out what's actually happening on the screen and respond and all that type of stuff as well. So a really interesting use case I can think of for accessibility reasons. So,
Yep. And the last one is something I wish had existed 10 years ago, if not more. Better threading behavior for email to case.
Yeah. How many times you got an email to case response and you've seen that weird reference number in it, and you go, well, I don't need that, delete that, and then of course, that creates a whole heap of issues. So that goes away. So it's now going to be picking up information that's in the header and in the subject, in the body itself, to respond. So that is, I think, good on a few fronts. One is it's just a better experience in the first place, but from a security perspective as well, I think that's a good outcome for that. A couple of things to remember on this is that new outbound emails won't have a RFID on them. Existing orgs will get an upgrade path with the end of life notification for the RFID. Right. So some things for our administrators out there to think about what they will need to do to handle that as it goes live.
Yeah, and this will be an interesting one. In the past, I think a couple of times in the last decade, used email to case premium, so a third-party product that kind of closed some of these gaps, particularly around threading. I remember that was one of the things that they helped with the merging and bringing the right cases back together in the right order and all of that. So, be interesting to see the impact on third-party products that this brings, if it can just seamlessly fix how this could work. Still a little bit surprised it's taken this long to come back and address this one.
Well, there's some of those core enhancements that do take a while to come up, don't they? Along the way, but it's there. Well, it's coming. It's a minute release. So
excellent. Let us call it there for this week. We've got, if I scroll, there's many more things on the list, so we've got lots to talk about next week, and I don't think either of us have got to the end of the release notes yet, so lots more to chat about. Winter 21, it's a mega release, lots of exciting stuff in there, and we'll wish everyone well for the week and see them again to learn more next week.
Indeed. Thanks everybody.
Thank you.